friend of a friend sent me.
Okay, you got Lucretia Mott, Frederick Douglass, Aunt Maxine, and Cassius Marcellus Clay. Oh no. Killer Cato.
I'll introduce you to the other ladies.
Hey guys, welcome back. There was so much that happened this week, so let's just get into it. So let's start with Elizabeth. We catch up to her exactly where we left her last week. She's on the stairs of the courthouse, and the way that I took that first scene was that she was screaming on the inside. The people around her are just onlookers to her suffering. Also, I absolutely love the show's use of sound to inform the raw emotion that Elizabeth is feeling. Something that really stood out to me, there were so many strong scenes with Elizabeth this episode, but something that stood out to me the most was what she said about the excuse they were using for John's death. Everyone keeps saying it's a senseless act, but people are using that as an excuse so nobody has to take responsibility for the world being senseless. When a person with hate in their heart walks into an AME church and shoots it up, we see the excuse of just some things are out of our control, when the hate that is manifested and taught to people is very much so something that can be avoided. It is worth noting how intricately and beautifully they wove the stories of all the women together in this episode to tell such a beautiful and brutal story. So let's just catch up to Ernestine and then we'll talk about Clara, okay? Because we have to talk about those scenes. Absolutely wrecked me. I had to sit down somewhere and just get my life together. The use of mothers and motherhood in this episode to tell a pretty comprehensive story about reproductive issues and rights was stunning to me. So you have Elizabeth, who with John cannot have children, Ernestine, who has had children but their fates are not under her control. You have Rosalie, who we're going to get to, and then Clara. Hicks told Ernestine he needs her help with something. It turns out that Ernestine has concocted something that will force a miscarriage for Clara, and Clara meets Ernestine secretly in the fields to go retrieve it, right? But in that conversation with Ernestine, it is clear to me that Clara is not sure. She's still considering whether or not she wants to have a child, and she asks Ernestine, has she ever had children? Ernestine tells her that children were the best thing that ever happened to her. Ernestine comes across her late husband. Her late husband says to her, "You let your heart run cold." But I would actually argue that Ernestine is numb. Now she just seems to be in the passenger seat to her own life because of the weight of everything that's happening to her, but it leads Ernestine to being complicit in one of the most horrifying things I've seen. So it turns out that Clara is pregnant by Hicks. He drags Clara into the room and force feeds her just to hear her screaming saying, "I want this baby, I want this baby," and then she's laying on the ground. Like, that just honestly had me an entire wreck. And Ernestine was complicit in that. He asked her where it was and she just points to it. There was a lot of emotion conveyed in looks, in sound, in the lack of sound, where we had Elizabeth when she was burying John, just silence to denote the emotion that was happening in the scene. The absolute look of devastation on Clara's face when Ernestine comes across her at the base of that bottle tree, that will haunt me for days. There's a very long and painful history behind motherhood and slavery that I think you should explore even outside of this. So let's move on to Noah. So Noah is using a lot of tools in his belt. He's picking away at the wagon, and he's also using psychological warfare to chip away at the resolve of his captor. They made us wait, but it was totally worth it. Because Noah, in one of the best action scenes this episode, throws his chains off and holds the man hostage in his own Caucasian home. Turns out, it's not his Caucasian home. It's Cato's. Name a better entrance of a mischievous yet lovable character on television. I'll wait. Kato is sitting here looking down from a balcony at Noah. Noah, you in danger, girl. I don't know what you're gonna do, but I know a lot of people are upset about Kato, but listen, he's only gonna hurt Noah a little bit. You don't. Maybe he'll take off a couple fingers, a couple toes, and you don't even need all of those. There was so much menace and promise of death and destruction in just 2 words. I am. To Rosalie. She has still been working with Harriet Tubman on the Underground Railroad. Patty, who is a slave catcher who is trying to secure her legacy with a biographer, shoots Rosalie like an animal, like with a long-range rifle. Rosalie rises from the river, and it turns out she's pregnant. She's been pregnant this whole time. She's pregnant, and she's still pushing on. Honestly, Underground just, it blows my mind. This was such an incredible episode. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen with Kato, where Elizabeth's rage is going to lead her, how Ernestine and Claire are going to interact, what's going on with Rosalie and Harriet. She's out here like she's going to be headlining Coachella. Like she's going to do that too. I'm speechless. I'll see y'all next week. I'm out of here, man.